Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Daniela and I'm here to tell you about all of the books that I read in the month of March. So in March I read 7 books. 6 of them were on audiobook. 1 of them was mixed between audio and physical reading. 3 of those books were part of a trilogy. So I'll leave those to the end and I will tell you about the standalones first. So the first book I read was The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I listened to this on audiobook. I gave it 4 stars and I really enjoyed this book. When I give something 5 stars, it tends to either be a favourite, something I'm going to read again, or just something that I couldn't put down at all, or just enjoyed like so much. This just fell short of 5 for me. Like, I don't think I would read it again. It wasn't like, I wouldn't say massively enjoyable just because it's a very sad book, but it also, I don't know, it just didn't give me the same feelings that some of my 5-star books gave me. So The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo is written in a kind of interview format. So Evelyn Hugo is this famous movie star and she arranges to have an interview with this woman who works for a magazine. And then it turns out that she has an ulterior motive. She specifically requests this woman and she tells her that she wants her to write her life story in book format, and it's to be published after she dies. So then the book is basically her being interviewed and telling her life story to this person who is going to write her life story in book format. I enjoyed the characters in the book. There is multiple characters in the book because you follow Evelyn throughout her life, and then it gets towards the end of the book and you find out a lot of stuff that is very sad, and I was I was sat in my bed listening and bawling my eyes out because it gets towards the end of the book and it's just like, you're just like getting punched over and over again. It's very good, but it's very sad. The next book I listened to all of these on Scribd, by the way. I listened to Every Heart a Doorway by Sean Maguire. It is set in like this children's home where children that have previously like gone through a doorway to like another world and then have ended up back in the human realm, they go to this home to kind of try and process their feelings and deal with the fact that they can't get back to this world that they were happy in and that they want to go back to. And so you kind of learn about all of the different children that are at this particular home, and then there's kind of like a mystery aspect running throughout the book because stuff starts happening at the home. I gave this one 3 stars. It was okay. I didn't particularly connect with any of the characters. I don't know if I'm a big fan of like mysteries. It wasn't like super surprising when you like found out the reveal either. At the moment, I'm not sure about continuing with the series. I'd be really interested to know if you just found book 1 like okay, did you continue with the series, and if you did, like, does it get better? Did you enjoy the books more? I'd be interested to know. Next I read We Need to Do Something by Max Booth. This was a horror story. I don't think it was a very long book. It's basically a family that get a tornado warning and they all cram into this tiny bathroom that has no windows, and they end up stuck in this bathroom, and the dad is an alcoholic, the younger brother is like really annoying, and then you've got like the teenage daughter and then the mother. So there's like this family dynamic. They're all stuck in a very small space, and yeah, it's just basically a time period where they're stuck in this bathroom and stuff happens, and it wasn't what I expected it to be. There were bits that were like very disgusting and gruesome, but then it kind of got a little weird for me and confusing, and I don't think I liked this book. I gave it 2 stars because there were times when I was really interested and I was engaged in the story, but at some point it took a turn and I was kind of like, what? It just wasn't for me, so I gave it 2 stars. The next book I read was My Dark Vanessa by Kate Elizabeth Russell. I gave this book 3 stars. It wasn't a bad book. I just really struggled. I did get through it all. I read it all. I'm proud of myself for reading it all, but I found it really difficult to read. I really struggled with some parts, got a bit upset and emotional, but like distressing upset. Like, it was distressing to read. And it's basically about, you're following a woman and you have kind of two timelines running throughout the book. You have the present day timeline and the timeline when she is a teenager, but she ends up in a relationship with her professor as a student, and it's blatant grooming. It was not pleasant to read. I was like disgusted, and the male character in the book just completely creeped me out. Like, it was not nice to read, but it was a very well written book. I can't say it was an enjoyable read because it was a distressing read, and I gave it 3 stars, not because it's a bad book, just because, you know, I couldn't enjoy it. I couldn't enjoy it. So when I rate things, it's kind of based on my enjoyment level, and obviously it wasn't enjoyable. It was not a fun time. I did feel very down after reading this book, so I'm not sure. I don't think I would recommend this book to you unless you are like comfortable reading stuff like that. I wasn't comfortable with this book. I was not comfortable. It was very uncomfortable to read, but I read it and I gave it 3 stars. So the next 3 books that I read, these were read, I probably started the first book in like November, and it took me ages to listen to the audiobook for the first book, finished it in March, and then I listened to the second and third book in March as well. So it is The Fellowship of the Ring, The Two Towers, and The Return of the King, which is the Lord of the Rings trilogy. The films are very good adaptations of these books. I'd say these books kind of expand on certain things. Items that people have access to in the films, where like how they get those items is explained in the books. It kind of goes into more detail about the hobbits before they set off, and the age differences are different compared to the films. And yeah, there's just more happens in the books. But the films are a very, very good adaptation, and they include a lot from the books. Ratings wise, I gave The Fellowship of the Ring 3 stars. I just found it very, very slow pacing wise, which I know is common. The Two Towers I gave 4 stars because I enjoyed this more, but it wasn't a 5-star read for me. And then The Return of the King I gave 3 stars. My favourite character is Sam. So all the Sam bits were the bits where I was really interested. I can't say my attention was held too much with all the other parts of the books, but every time that Sam was a part of the book, I was interested because he's my favourite character. I love him. I was welling up at every single Sam bit. He's just adorable. So I did enjoy reading them for the extra Sam content. And also Frodo was slightly more likable in the books. I really don't like Frodo. I think it's because of the film adaptations. They made me dislike Frodo, and because in the films, the way he treats Sam in the films, in the later films, I don't like him. I'm Team Sam, like, all the way. So because of that, yeah, I have this aversion to Frodo. I don't know if it was something to do with the way Elijah Wood portrayed him as well. Like, I found him very whiny and annoying, and I don't it sounds so harsh, but I'm not a massive Frodo fan. But yeah, he's not as bad in the books as he is in the film, so I feel like they did Frodo a little bit of a disservice in the films. Overall, I enjoyed them. I feel like sometimes when I'm listening to audiobooks, I have a habit of not giving it my full attention, because you can multitask and do other things when you're listening to an audiobook. And so if I'm not fully engaged and I'm not finding a part very interesting, I have a tendency to be thinking about other things rather than actually listening and absorbing the information. So I feel like maybe if I read them physically, I might like them more. But then there's also that, could it be harder to read them physically because of the pacing, especially with the first book? I think at some point I would like to read them physically because I do have the books. But yeah, for now, based on the audio listening experience, that was my rating. Have you read or listened to The Lord of the Rings? What did you think? How was your reading experience? Let me know in the comments. And that's everything I have for you today, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a big thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and I will see you next time.